I've found a new way to demonstrate intonation on a Floyd Rose bridge. Let me show you. The process of intonation is actually quite simple once you understand what it is you're trying to do and how to do it. And it's fast and easy to do on most non-Floyd Rose equipped guitars. But I think what makes it seem so daunting of a task on a Floyd Rose bridge is just that when you're looking at it, it seems like there are so many components, so many variables, so many ways you could possibly screw it up. But really, the only real challenge is that it's tedious, meaning it takes a while and you've got to have some patience. Let's get into it. Intonation is the last step in the setup process. After you've got your guitar perfectly tuned up and you've checked your action and your float is perfect, then it's time to get into intonation. You really only need 3 tools to intonate a Floyd Rose bridge, and that's a 3mm Allen wrench, a 2.5mm Allen wrench, and some sort of screwdriver. This little flathead guy works well for me. The 3mm is the normal Floyd key that works for, your saddle screws in the back here, your locking nut screws, and the 2.5 is what we adjust the intonation screws of the saddle here with. More about that in a minute as we get into it. The screwdriver is just going to help us hold things in place if necessary. Adjusting intonation is always better in the playing position too. You'll get the best results. But I have it here on the bench for purposes of making this video. It's just easier to demonstrate flat on the bench here, and everything's going to be fine. It's still going to be cool. Even the act of just trying to intonate your guitar flat on the bench is better than not doing it at all. So don't worry about that too much. But if you really want to get the best intonation possible, sit in the playing position how you normally hold it and do it like that. You'll see more what I mean in a minute. The act of intonating a guitar is just bettering the pitch of every note everywhere across the fretboard on every string. So that means an E here is the same as an E here at its octave, or an E here, or here, or here, or here, or here. All of those were E's. And the 12th fret is the exact middle point between where the string meets the nut here and where it meets the saddle here. So the scale length right there, the 12th fret, is the midpoint. And sometimes if you tune a perfect E here, we're a little bit flat, let's get that back up. A good E there on the 6th string may not be totally true when you fret the 12th fret, which is supposed to be the exact middle point. And if it isn't, we need to adjust the length of the string by moving the saddle, either forward or backward. Moving it forward shortens the length of the string. Moving it backwards lengthens the length of the string. Then all that's really doing is getting the center point of the string perfectly over the 12th fret so that the 12th fret fretted, the middle point, is a perfect E, just like the open E. Because sometimes if your note's generally north, or depending on how you're looking at this, east of the 12th fret, can get out of tune as they get past that midway point. So this E here and E here might not be the same, or even an E all the way up at the 24th fret. Ooh, my intonation's pretty good there. For a 24, that's pretty good. All pretty solid. If it's close there to the needle, we'll call it. When I say needle, it's because back in the day before these digital like LED tuners, there was an actual needle on those. I don't even know if it was like an analog tuner or what, but guys my age remember our first tuners had that needle that would go back and forth. Not very ideal. I prefer these LED lights so much more, but we're still going to refer to it as the needle, where the needle is on the tuner there. So the point of it again is on each string, getting each string kind of in tune with itself. And the better in tune and better pitch each string has, the better your chords are going to sound anywhere on the neck. A lot of the time when you're playing down here, low chords are going to sound good, but if you get above the 12th fret there, that same chord might not sound as in tune, sound a little wonky and stuff. And that's when you know you need to intonate your guitar. Dial it back in a little bit better so that the pitches are perfect everywhere. So we're going to do that simply by moving the saddles back and forth on each string, or the strings that need it. We'll go through checking each string to see if it needs it or not. And when I said that I had a new way to demonstrate intonation, I didn't actually mean that I had like a new method. I just had a new way of showing it off. And that's because I happen to have this extra Floyd Rose bridge just sitting here from a recent video that I just did where I used it as a demonstration in a Floyd Rose string changing video, which you should definitely check out if you'd like to learn more about the in-depth nitty-gritty of changing strings on a Floyd Rose and just seeing my methods, how I've been doing it for 20 plus years, maybe even longer. But I thought this would be an awesome example here because we can see one up close and I can actually show you everything that's going on with it before we actually go and do it to a bridge that has the strings attached, just like your guitar does. And obviously that's how you need to intonate your guitar, with the strings attached. Like I said, it's the last step of the process. So everything else has to be set up perfectly, because if you were to go and intonate your guitar and then make a big tuning change or a truss rod change, anything like that, that would alter your intonation. And the intonation is like the top level for perfect tuning, all that. So it's the last step. Everything else matters up into it. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but you know what I'm saying. It's just kind of the last step. It's like waxing your car. It's like, why would you wax it before you washed it, right? All right, so check this out. Let's take a look at this here. So as I mentioned, these are the saddles: 6th saddle, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. And they move. I'm going to take my 2.5 Allen key here, and I'm going to loosen my intonation screw there, which all that does is it holds the saddle in place. So now this can move back and forth. So let's say we need to lengthen the string, we would loosen that and pull it back a little bit. If we needed to shorten the string, we would just push it forward a little bit. And back to this example here, see if I move this closer, it kind of shortens the string a little bit. The distance between where the string meets that saddle block and the nut would be shortened if we move it forward. If we moved it back, it would lengthen the string. And all that's doing is moving the center point of that this way or this way, just the tiniest bit, to get it so that it's perfectly an E, and that's an E. Might be a little bit off on that one. Let's check like this one. So that's a D. Let me get it in perfect tune. I'm going to show you more with that bridge in a moment, don't worry. So that's perfect. See, that D string right here, min standard E, is perfectly intonated, as you can see, because I'm plucking the string open and then plucking it at the 12th fret. Even pressure. I'm not pushing too hard or too light there, just a nice even pressure on the 12th fret and a consistent pick. If I pick super hard, it'll get sharp. It might pick sharp. There, that's the example, sorry. Without fretting it. See, it'll go sharp if I pick it real hard, but if I pick it nice and light, sorry, it's dropping a little bit there. Being finicky. It's like a dog that doesn't want to do tricks at the, when you ask at home, the dog does whatever trick you want, then you try to show somebody. Anyways, look at that. Perfect tuning there. Perfect tuning at the 12th fret, just plucking it lightly. So back to this. It's moving around. I'm going to pull this screw out to show you kind of what's going on. And all this screw is, watch this little block right there. As I screw that in, it pushes the block. So that's the string clamp, that block. It clamps down as you put your string in there. Clamp down, I would tighten that, and it would hold the string in place. Once the string's in place, move it back and forth, because this screw, the intonation screw, is loose, so I can move it back and forth. Notice that there are 3 holes. I hear people say, oh, I can't move it forward or back anymore. Well, check your screw placement there, because you can move this screw to a different hole. And it really gives you a lot more room to move around there. So just adjust the screw to where you need it to be if that happens to come about. I don't think we're going to use this example today as I intonate this guitar here, because I think the intonation is pretty good. We're going to make some adjustments, but I don't think they're going to be major enough to where I'm going to need to move the intonation screw. However, I have had to do that many, many times. So just know that there are 3 options there that exist. But I'm hoping this example here that you can see everything that's going on is cool. So if we're to undo this one, it moves back and forth just like that. And picture your string being in there already, and you can move it back and forth, but it's going to be under some sort of tension and it won't move this freely because you're actually going to have a string in there. You loosen the string so that you can move it back and forth a little bit, but it's still not going to be this easy. But just seeing kind of the anatomy of the Floyd there a little bit, I think this is probably an angle that a lot of people haven't seen unless they've actually taken their bridge out before. So kind of cool. So back to the bench here. How this whole thing works is very easy. We're going to use a process called chasing the needle, where when I hit this D, first I want to make sure it's perfectly tuned. Now I hit the 12th fret, it's also perfectly tuned. But if it were showing up sharp, meaning, see how it's a little bit sharp there sometimes? It's right of center. That means we're going to move the saddle to the right. If it were, let me get this a perfect B. No, this 12th fret, I knew this string needed to be intonated. It's left of center, so we know we need to move this saddle to the left. So what we'll do is we'll loosen this string, we'll loosen the intonation screw, we'll move the saddle forward just a tiny bit, we'll tighten the screw, we'll retune the string, or retighten and tune the string, and see if it has fixed that discrepancy. So it's a little bit like, you have to kind of think about it backwards. You think like, okay, this is in tune, and like this, it's flat. I must need to tighten it somehow. That means I move it back. But no. You just want to follow the needle, chase the needle. If the tuning discrepancy is left of center, left of perfect tune, we're going to move the saddle to the left towards the discrepancy, and that will make up for the discrepancy. Look at this case. My high E there, it's sharp. It's right of center. So we need to move this saddle to the right to make up for that discrepancy. And it's just barely sharp. I'm going to be honest with you guys and say that a little discrepancy like that, I wouldn't even correct. I think it'd be totally fine. You probably wouldn't notice that tuning discrepancy. But if you want to get it perfect, you can only get it so perfect. But if you want to get it right, and that's what we're going to do today, we're going to adjust that. So let's just work on, for the sake of this video, the first two strings here, the E and the B. We'll start with the E. Perfect tune. Sharp a little bit. So we need to move the saddle right of center. First step, unlock your locking nut screws, detune the string. And the main reason for this is to give yourself some room to work with so that I can move the string aside. See that? How I move the string to the side? Now that gives me access to the intonation screw there, where it's directly over it, right over the center with that. And if the string was totally at the right tension, it'd be harder to move. So anyways, I've done that. Now, as I loosen this, because I'm adding tension by pulling like that, it's just going to pull this forward. So that's where our little screwdriver is going to come in handy. I know that because, well, it's no longer in tune, but that was when that was a perfect E and I hit the 12th fret like that, it was sharp. So I need to chase the tuner by moving the saddle to the right. So to do that, I'm going to place my screwdriver right here. I'm going to loosen this, or else it'll pull forward. So I'm going to use my screwdriver to push it back a little bit. Let's also get the whammy bar out of the way here. Don't need it. So I am placing the screwdriver right up against the saddle just so it doesn't move forward, and it's going to also help me move it back. I'm going to loosen my intonation screw. And I'm going to take note of where it is right now. You know, I know the adjustment is going to be super slight, so I'm just going to push it back a little bit. See that? It goes back. Let's try it. Let's try it like that. Okay. Clamp it down. Get it nice and tight. And you may need to do this once or twice. Maybe we're going to get lucky. Maybe it's going to be, that was the perfect adjustment. If it isn't good enough, you need to go a little bit more. If you overshot it, which happens all the time, bring it back a little bit. Back up to E. Good. Here we go, 12th fret. Oh, money! Look at that. Open E. Perfectamundo. Let's move on. B. Tuning's pretty good. We're flat, left of center. So we need to move the saddle to the left, the opposite direction from what we did on the E string. So D tune. Okay. Place my screwdriver there just so we know we're gonna go to the left, but I'm gonna place my screwdriver there just so I can control. I'm just holding it there. Loosen it up. Good. Now I can push it forward a little bit. Ready? Watch. Here we go. About like that. Let's try that. Okay. Very small increments. Even if you have to do it 2 or 3 times, it's better to just do small increments and have to do it a few times. This is the tedious part of it I talked about. Tune back up. Than to just go crazy and totally overshoot it or undershoot it. Bring it back up to pitch. Looking for a B. Perfect tuning. Here we go. Oh, again, 2 for 2. I love it. I promise I don't usually get that lucky. I'm just getting lucky. I've also done this tons and tons of times too, so I know, like, I can see what the discrepancy is on the tuner and know about how much I'm gonna need to do with the saddle. It just takes practice and experience, but once you get that down, it becomes a comfortable process that you can just do and you don't have to worry about it. Like I said, the only thing is that it's tedious. B, good enough. Let's check that E again. Now, if the E, let's say, look at my E's coming up a little bit sharp there, open, if the same thing happens on 12, little blips here and there, that's okay, because we're tuning the string to itself. All right, we'll do a quick, make sure everything else, just check it out, check that out, that E, 6th string. Fantastic. Fantastic. Excellent. Come on. Okay, it's running the tiniest bit flat, so it's okay if this does too. Yep. I don't know if I was happy with that. That one might need a slightest adjustment, or it could be that I'm a little bit flat here. Well, okay, so it was left of center. So we're gonna chase that needle a tiny bit. Oh, look at this, an example of where I'm going to need to move the screw because I don't have any room to go forward. So I'm gonna hold it in place. Good, I didn't think we were gonna get the opportunity to do this. I'm holding it in place. I don't want it to move too much because I just need to go the tiniest bit with it. Come on. Okay, pop it in here. Okay, we're gonna go a little bit forward, like that maybe. Good. Because we're chasing the needle. All right. Ah! Maybe. I'll take that. Look at that. G there. In business. So that is how it's done, guys. Easy as that. Just moving these guys back and forth. If it's left of the tuner, or we're looking at the tuner, we hit the open, get it perfectly tuned. If it's left of the tuner, we need to move it forward. If it's right of perfectly in tune, we need to move it back. Just little bits at a time. You got room to move. Oop, was I doing that in camera, on screen? We got room to move back and forth by moving the little intonation screw there. And that's all it takes. Just the process over and over again, tuning, retrying it over and over again until you get it just right, and you should be good. Your chords will sound better. Your notes will sound better. And I believe that helps you play better. When things are feeling good and sounding good, it's inspirational. You come up with better licks, better riffs, just more inspired to play all around. So yes, but don't stop here. Continue watching with my string changing tutorials series playlist, where I'm doing all sorts of string changing tutorials: Floyd, non-Floyd, intonation Floyd, truss rod, action, Evertune, everything you can think of. I got it here for you on the channel. Make sure you're subscribed. I really appreciate it. Appreciate you watching and tuning in, and I hope to see you again on the next one, guys.